All right, page 1 of Unit 2A test review. So question 1 says find the slope of each line. So you might notice it's a horizontal line. If you do, you might already know what the slope is. However, if you don't, you can still use the formula, and I'll write this down. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So you have two options, formula, understanding that what a horizontal slope means, or rise over run. So because this is a graph, I'm going to use rise over run. So let's pick 2 points on the graph. So I picked 2 points. So if you notice my rise, well, I don't go up or down, so my rise is actually 0. And my run is over 1. So 0 over 1 simplifies to 0. So my slope is 0. You might also have known that just based off of it being horizontal. Our next line, we're going to go ahead and pick 2 points. So we're going to find 2 points on the graph. I'm going to use my y-intercept as 1 point. And then I have another point here. Make sure it's going through an intersection. So we'll rise. If I go up, remember that up means positive, so that went up 2 boxes, so that's 2. And my run is to the right, which means it's positive 1. So the rise is 2, the run was 1, and that simplifies to 2. Next one, again, we're going to pick 2 points. You might know what a vertical line means when it talks about slope, but if you don't, you're going to do rise over run. So pick 2 points. The rise is 1. The run, meaning side to side, is 0. 0 under the line is undefined. So 1 over 0 is actually undefined. That's the simplified answer. You might also remember a couple things to pay attention to on slopes when they're graphed. Is slope means steepness of a line. So there's no steepness, which is why the 0 slope. And if it's going upward from left to right, it's going upward, that means it's a positive slope. So that's something also to pay attention to. All right, next part is we're going to go ahead and find slope of the line that goes through those ordered pairs or those points. So I gave you that formula earlier, so we're going to go ahead and plug that in. So we got x1 and y1. Order pairs are always x and y. And then we're going to call this group 2, so x2 and y2. We're going to plug in our numbers. So 7 minus 7 over negative 1 minus 3. 7 minus 7 is 0. And negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4. And that will simplify. 0 above is 0. So my slope is 0. Either answer, numeric or words are fine. All right, next one. Again, label our points, x and y. Group 1 and group 2. So y2 minus y1, which is also a negative. You need to write both negatives, over x2 minus x1. Again, double negatives. You have to write both of them. So we're going to simplify that. 14 and 13 make 27. And 2 minus negative 5 make 3. So my slope is 9. And then my next one, we have x and y. And we're going to call group 1 group 2. So y2, negative 5, minus y1 over x2 minus x1, which is also negative. Negative 5 minus 3 is negative 8. And negative 11 minus 11 is 0. Remember, 0 under the line is undefined. A couple things you might want to pay attention to on those 0 slopes. If you notice, both of my y values are the same. So that means it only crosses through the y-axis, and the only way to do that is if you're a horizontal line. And on this one, you might notice both of my x's are the same value of negative 11. So on the graph, if it only goes through the x-axis at negative 11, that means it's going to be a vertical line. So if you remember vertical and horizontal, that makes a little bit faster answer for you to find. All right. Next question, number 3, says, write a direct variation equation. So we need to make sure we're paying attention to what it's asking for the given graph line. So we're not just finding slope this time, we're finding an actual equation. So when you write an equation, you need to find the slope and the y-intercept. Well, if it's direct variation, you might remember that means it's proportional. And if it's a proportional graph, that means it has to go through the origin. And then as you can see, it does go through the origin because your y-intercept is always going to be 0 on a direct variation proportional relationship. So really you're just finding slope. Or they also call it k for your constant of variation. So we're going to do rise over run. So we're going to pick 2 points. So I'm looking for 2 intersection points. So I'm going to use this origin one. We're going to do rise up here to the number 5. So my rise is 5. And over, which is going to be at 1. So my slope or my k value is 5. K really just means pick an ordered pair. So I'm going to kind of give you another order idea of how to do this. An ordered pair, which is 1, 5. Because it's proportional, x and y, proportional relationship, just say that you can simply just do y over x. You don't even have to do rise over run. So y is 5, x is 1. So again, it's still going to be 5 either way, slope or doing direct variation for the constant proportionality. So now we're ready to write the equation. Y equals our m, which is also the k, x, and then we don't want to put plus 0, so we're done. All right, and then we have our next one. What is the slope for the equation x equals 5? Well, we talked about that earlier. First, we want an equation, right? I mean, it's an equation. We want the slope, excuse me. So we want the slope of an equation, that's that. So you can have a couple things you can do. So if x equals 5, that means every single time in the table, x has to be 5. And then you can have any order pairs, say 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of draw this out to kind of show you what it's going to look like. So x5, let's say it's over here, and then y is 1, so my point would be here. And then 5, 2 would be here, and then 5, 3 would be here. So the line would look similar to this. Well, if you know what a vertical slope means, you might already know that that means it's going to be a undefined slope. So they wanted the slope, which is undefined. And if not, you can go ahead and you can use the order pair and use the formula. Next one. What's the slope if the equation is y equals 7? So again, if y has to be always 7, then that means our table would have only 7 values. Any x values will work. So let's just do 1, 2, 3. So let's just kind of jot what that would look like. So we're going to graph 1, 7. So 1, and then we're just going to about would be there 7. And then 2, and then 7. And then 3, and then 7. And so if you notice, my line this time is going to be horizontal because it only goes through the x or the y-axis. Y equals 7. It only goes through y at 7. That means it's a 0 slope because there's no steepness. So our slope is 0.